choices for you and your family. Cook it, give it. You'll love when you live it. L-I-V-E, live it.
Welcome everybody. My name is Andrea Miller and I'm a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator here at community hospitals and wellness centers. And I'd like to welcome you all to Live It Food Family Football. And I have a special guest with me here today who hopefully knows a lot about football because I don't. It's John Reimer, and he is the Director of Materials Management here at Community Hospitals and Wellness Centers. So hopefully the idea is he's gonna, maybe share some, football expertise, and I'm gonna talk about the food. So, but not too much. I told him nothing hard. So today we have some recipes for your tailgate celebrations or any family get together or just for fun. We're gonna do two different dips. We're gonna do a pico de gallo and guacamole. A pico de gallo is just basically a fresh salsa. John and I were talking a little bit before we started, and he said that he makes pico de gallo at home, but his is completely different. So that's the nice thing about pico de gallo. You can do a lot of different things with it to tailor it to what you like and your family likes. This is just a base recipe. The other thing we're gonna do is a buffalo chickpea pinwheel. So it's kind of a buffalo or a chickpea puree that we're gonna add some buffalo sauce to it to make it a healthier alternative to your buffalo wings. And then we're gonna add some crunchy bits with vegetables and cheese and roll it all in a tortilla and slice it like a pinwheel, and it's absolutely delicious. So I think you'll all really enjoy it. So first of all, to get started, I want to touch on one topic of nutrition that some of you may be a little bit uncomfortable with, maybe a little bit intimidated with, the dried bean. So beans are really nutritious for us and very inexpensive. They're an expensive protein source. You can buy them canned or you can buy them dried. And a lot of people I found don't know what to do when you go to the supermarket and you get a bag like this, or in bulk bins you might find some dried beans. So it is less expensive to get them dried. So I want to share with you how to prepare those. So John, I'll have you use your muscles. You can open the bags for me.
Anytime. You got a knife?
So did you actually play football ever?
I played football, yeah. For about 10 years, yes. Okay. Yes, I did.
So we're opening our dried bag of beans, and yep, I'm just going to have him dump them on the cookie sheet. So why on earth am I dumping them on the cookie sheet? I'm not actually using the cookie sheet, but on every bag of chickpeas and every resource that I've ever found, it says you're supposed to rinse and sort your chickpeas. Not necessarily in that order. I usually sort them first. So by sorting them, basically what you're doing is you're just spreading them out. And you're just glancing over them to look for any debris that's in them. I've never found a piece of debris. But there can sometimes be like rocks or twigs or things like that in your debris, and you don't necessarily want to bite into a rock, so you're supposed to sort them. So I see no rocks. Do you see any rocks?
I don't see any. I don't have my glasses on, but I don't see
that's right. He took his glasses off. Asked if I was going to make him read anything. So no rocks, no twigs. I mean, they all look fine to me. So after that, you transfer them to a colander. We're going to pretend we have water in here. We don't actually. We're going to rinse them under water. And then after they're rinsed, we pour them into a pot or a bowl. You have two options here. First step, cover with water. Second step, you have to somehow soak them. You can either do a quick soak or an overnight soak. The overnight soak, cover them by at least 3 inches of water and let them set for 8 to 12 hours. I don't think longer would hurt. And then after the overnight soak, you drain the cooking water, rinse again, and then you cook them per package instructions. For garbanzo beans, you bring them to a boil and simmer for about 10 minutes, and then you reduce, or I guess boil for 10 minutes. Then you reduce the heat and simmer for an hour, but up to 3 hours. So it is kind of labor intensive to cook beans, but I think it's worth it, especially if you're on a budget. And nutrition-wise, there's no salt added to it, and they can be frozen once they're cooked. So wanted to talk you through that. The quick soak method involves bringing them to a boil and boiling for about 10 minutes, and then you turn the heat off, put a lid on, and you let it set there for an hour. And then you drain and then cook, as I just described. So wanted to talk you through that. So especially, we've had some questions, people that are going to food pantries may get dried beans, and they're like, I don't know what to do with these. So I think it's an important cooking skill to know how to do. And while it does take a lot of time, that time isn't very active. You know, you're not really, I mean, I'll put the beans on the stove and I'll go play with my kids for a couple hours and check them periodically. You're not doing a lot during that time, so it's not too bad. Okay, but since nobody wants to sit here for hours and watch beans boil, we have some already cooked for us. All right, John, we're gonna use this food processor.
This right here?
Yep, that. So we have 3 cups of cooked beans, and I'm gonna have you just dump that right into our food processor.
We can do that without spilling any, but.
If you need a spoon, we have a spoon over here too. Awesome, perfect.
Okay.
And then to make it buffalo-y, and we're gonna wait for a second on that, we're gonna put the buffalo sauce right in. So we have a 1/2 cup of your favorite buffalo wing sauce. And it's a little spicy, so maybe if you're sensitive to spicy things, start out with a little bit less. You can always add more, but you can't take it out once it's already in there. So we added a 1/2 cup, and now we're gonna add about half that cheese.
Half this cheese.
Half of it. Okay. So it's about 1/4 cup that you're adding, and we're using feta cheese, but you could use a lot of different varieties of cheese. For a traditional wing effect, you could add blue cheese, but I know some people have kind of a negative connotation with blue cheese because it looks funny. Or like cream cheese would be acceptable, or just like a Monterey Jack or mozzarella may work as well. So, okay, so we're gonna put the lid on here, and it has to, food processors are funny. They have to be on just right. There we go. Okay, now you can press the on. It's gonna get loud for a second.
1, 2, 3, go! It's working.
All right. Yep.
We're good?
We're good.
Done? Tell me when.
Let's see. All right, let's turn it off and see what it looks like. You're taller than I am, so you don't have to stand on your tiptoes to, I have to like stand on my tiptoes and.
I can't even get it open.
There you go. So let me see.
Does that look good?
Yeah, so you can either, I'm actually going to stir it a little bit, and we're going to turn it back on for a second. It's a little chunky, which may be what you like. You can either choose to leave it chunky or a little bit more smooth. I want it a little bit smoother, so we're going to turn it back on after stirring it for just a second or two. That's probably fine. All right, so now, actually we're just going to pull this off, turn, yep. And we're just going to use this as our bowl. Actually, I'm going to take the blade out. Set these aside. So we're done with that. This is actually really easy. This is much easier than chicken wings too. So in a hurry, this is a quick go-to, something that you could make for your family gatherings.
Or the Ohio State-Michigan game, or any of those games,
Ohio
right?
State, yes, yes. So what's the biggest game of the year for you? Is it Ohio State-Michigan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
for sure.
I know people plan their lives around these games. My husband gets so angry. Who schedules a wedding or plans a wedding for the Ohio State-Michigan State football game? Apparently it's a big deal.
It is.
Is it a big deal to you?
Yes.
Yes.
If they don't have televisions, a lot of people don't go. I don't know why.
I know. So anybody in the room thinking about planning a wedding, apparently you have to check all of the football schedules before you plan said wedding, if it is in the fall. All right. So we're adding a couple different things to our chickpea blend to kind of liven it up. You can go ahead and add the rest of the cheese in there. Just watch out, there's a hole in the middle. So, so go ahead and stir in the cheese. So the rest of the cheese, which is about 1/4 cup of feta. And we're gonna add a couple green onions or scallions. So that's what they look like in their raw form. I'm gonna cut off the roots. And start dicing these up. So some people are confused about what part of the scallion you can use. I'm sure you can eat it all. I think as it gets up towards the top of it, it starts to get a little bit more tough. I usually go a little ways up. That's probably good. And then I throw the rest away. So we're gonna add this.
Could have brought that over, I guess.
That's all right. All right, so we're gonna add that, and then we're gonna add something crunchy to it. So I chose to add celery because, again, you know, the buffalo wing, blue cheese, celery combination kind of seems to go together. Other options here would be radishes. So we are going to add some celery and dice that up fairly well.
Now, I might skip the celery. I'm not a big celery fan.
Would you do radishes instead?
I probably would do that instead.
Radishes?
Just because, yeah.
It just, I mean, the celery just kind of gives it a crunch. If you don't add something crunchy, it just kind of tastes like hummus wrapped in a tortilla. So, which is kind of, you know, if you like hummus, you could also use this as a dip as well and just dip some raw vegetables in it like a hummus. That would be good. Or crackers or something like that. So you need about 1/2 cup of whatever crunchy item you use. But yeah, I also think radishes are really good in this recipe as well. Radishes kind of give them a, you know, that little spicy, they add a little different dimension of spiciness. What's your favorite tailgate food? Do I want to know?
No.
He laughs as I ask him what his favorite tailgate food is.
Everything.
Everything.
There's not one thing. I will eat about anything. So yeah, anything that someone brings, I'm good with.
I'll maybe have you bring that down here now, and we'll
There you go.
add our crunchy bits of celery. And then you can just go ahead and stir that.
Stir it up.
Stir it up.
I was going to use that one, but this one works a little better.
So we're gonna roll this in a tortilla, basically. Just like a little, maybe you've seen like the ham and like cream cheese roll-ups maybe. So this would be a vegetarian version of a pinwheel. Plus it's really good. I mean, you might think, oh, beans and I mean, it doesn't look like beans actually, so you can see what that looks like. It looks really kind of yummy. So I'm going to have you open up the tortilla now. So you need about 3 10-inch tortillas, or any tortilla you can find. I believe this is a whole wheat tortilla. Surprise, surprise. I'm using something whole wheat. And we're just going to spoon a little bit in. It's kind of a chunky, thick, hard to spoon mixture. And then you just kind of spread it on your tortilla. We'll use a little more there. Jeez. Okay, And then I'll just let you roll that up like a sleeping bag.
Okay.
Awesome. He's doing
good?
such a good job. He said he actually does like to cook. So I always ask my sous chefs if they like to cook. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little crazy with my nose here. What's your favorite thing to cook?
Chili.
Chili.
Yeah, I think
okay,
so.
that's another really good tailgate food, right? So then you just start slicing, and I usually slice off the ends because they don't look that pretty, and you can have those for a little snack. Make them about a 1/2 inch thick.
No toothpicks necessary for
No.
this? No.
No, they stick together really well,
yeah.
actually. So that's what it looks like when it's cut. And I'll cut a couple here. Uh-oh. Our tortilla's kind of falling apart. Sometimes heating your tortillas a little bit actually can help them to stay together. Like if you just wrap them in a paper towel and microwave them for a few minutes, it helps to make them more pliable.
I think I would just eat that one if that
There you go.
happened.
Yeah. So
But I know we shouldn't do that here, but this might be what I would
Go ahead, go for it. So we'll start there with our little appetizer plate, and we'll move those out of the way for a second. So let's get started on the rest of our amazing dips that we're going to make. So we're going to get started on our pico de gallo, so fresh salsa. And actually, it's kind of funny. I didn't realize it until a little bit later, actually until just recently. But the pico de gallo recipe and the guacamole recipe have a lot of the same ingredients. So actually, if you wanted to make both on the same day, you can actually just take some of the pico de gallo and add it to your mashed avocado and put some seasoning in there, and you're good to go. So that's actually what we're going to do today. We're going to start making our pico de gallo. So the bowl over there. The first step is to dice up some onion. So who wants to see John's
Can I leave that to
dicing?
you? My wife
Okay.
always does it because she knows how sensitive I am.
The onion.
You don't want to see
Okay,
me cry,
John
do you?
doesn't want to cry.
I mean, the Browns are 0-4. I might cry just because of that. But,
All right, we won't make John cry today.
I mean, I will if you want.
No, that's fine. Okay, so I always leave the end on. You do want the vegetables diced pretty well in this recipe because you want them to fit on your chip. If you get vegetables that are too chunky in a pico de gallo or a guacamole, it's like, that's not what you're really looking for. Although it probably won't hurt it, so. All right, so I use that as my handle. I'm gonna slice it in half. And since I'm going to kind of combine these, I'm actually gonna use about 2 cups of onions. Again, like I said earlier, these recipes, they're just kind of a base recipe for you, but you can do a lot of different things to them. You know, add or subtract, you know, certain ingredients. So, or, you know, cut the recipe in half or make more. So, the thing with these recipes though, if you don't think you're going to, like if you're just making it for a couple people, I'd highly recommend, you know, dividing the recipe in half or even quartering it because they don't really store well in the refrigerator. Pico de gallo is a lot better fresh, and so is guacamole. It tends to turn a little bit brown, the guacamole, if you don't eat it fast enough.
There's a tip that you can take saran wrap and put it on the guacamole and push it all the way down to the guacamole, and that'll keep it a little bit longer in the refrigerator.
Right.
Doesn't last that much longer, but it does last a little bit longer.
Yeah, so minimizing the amount of oxygen that gets to the avocado will help to decrease the amount of browning that happens. the browning won't hurt you. So like if it does get a little bit brown, it's still safe to eat. It's not that it's like gone bad. It is still safe to eat. But yeah, the saran wrap's a good tip. Also, the lime juice that we're gonna add to our guacamole is gonna help to prevent browning as well. So I did not do a good job at initially the first dice on this. So, so I'm just kind of going through and kind of dicing up a little bit extra. Mine might be a little bit on the chunky side today. Not quite the fine diced that I was shooting for, but. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna have you hand me the bowl here. Let's see. I'm going to scoop it into a cup to see how much we have. I'm usually pretty good at estimating how much something is. It looks like we're almost going to be right at 2 cups here. Oh, yeah. It's a dietitian's eye. I can see 2 cups from free chopping. So I'm a little short, but it's about right. So we'll stop there. And now we're going to cut up our jalapenos. So if you don't like spicy, you don't have to add these. John, you had a good tip. You said you used
pressed garlic.
Yeah, pressed garlic and then
red bell pepper.
Red bell pepper. Yeah. So that would be a good substitute if you don't really like spicy things. I'm actually going to put on gloves for this. I would do this at home too. Do you want to cut any? Oh
yeah, sure.
You'll cut the
whatever you
jalapeno.
Want. Yeah.
I'll let you cut a jalapeno too because we're going to use 2 of them.
How do you?
You may want gloves for this. You may not.
Good.
I wear contacts.
I don't wear contacts.
Okay. so if you cut
I've never cut a jalapeno.
Okay, so it'll be a good tutorial. If the oil that is in the jalapeno or any hot pepper, it can get onto your fingers and actually it's hard to wash off, really. So like I said, I wear contacts. So if I go to take my contacts out, like it'll burn your eye pretty bad for a while. So you may want to wear gloves. You're not wearing gloves.
No, I'm good.
I'm trying to figure out why everybody in the room is laughing.
I want to watch you now. What do you do? Okay.
All right, so I'm going to cut off the stem.
Okay.
Okay, and then the seeds are the part that are really spicy. So you can either choose to leave them in or take them out. Let's take them out today. I'll show you how to do that. So cut it in half. Now sometimes using a spoon to get the seeds out, just kind of scrape them out and set those aside.
Ooh, they're flying all over.
Yeah, and jalapenos can really vary in how spicy they are. So sometimes I'll even try a little bite to see how spicy it is because some are pretty mild and others are really pretty spicy. So
You leave the white part in there, or you take that out too? The whole, just like cleaning a regular pepper?
You can leave that in. Yeah.
Okay.
So the vein tends to be the spicier part. So it'll be a surprise. It'll be a mystery how spicy it is. Okay. So I just kind of slice them into little matchsticks, I guess. And then I turn my knife the other way and go through and dice them up. Again, you want these. The jalapeno you really want to be small because, again, nobody wants to get a giant piece of jalapeno.
How small is
Right.
small?
So here's mine.
Oh yeah, well mine aren't that small.
How do you do that? So
Oh.
I'm going to add that in. You can keep working.
I like
I'll start.
mine hot.
Okay. I cut my onions kind of chunky, so I guess we'll have some. It'll be a gamble. We'll live on the edge a little bit. All right. So now I have some limes. I'm going to use the fresh lime juice in here. And I'm going to use 3 of them because I want one for my guacamole to add right to the avocado to prevent browning. So I'm going to slice my lime in half and just go ahead and start squeezing the juice out. These are actually kind of big limes, so I might start with just 2. So, when you're doing a cooking like this, it's really, it's kind of by taste, by preference. You don't have to be exact with what the recipe says. Just start chopping vegetables up and throwing them together and adjust to taste. So, that is actually a lot of lime juice in just 1 lime. That was a really big lime, though. It was like an orange.
Yeah, we use just the bottle of lime juice, which
You could do that, too.
This is way better, I'm sure.
I think there's a little added flavor when you use the fresh lime juice. There's just something that you can't get from a bottle. But absolutely, I would do that too in a pinch. So, okay. So I'm going to stay with 1 right now, and I'm going to add that. Because again, you can always add more, but it's hard to take out once you've added everything. So I'll let you go ahead and start stirring that together. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start with our tomatoes. So we're using a Roma tomato. Supposedly there's less liquid in the Romas. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slice my Roma in half. And for salsas like this, usually you do take the inside, the seeds out of the tomato. Save them for something else. Maybe add them to like a tomato soup or a pasta sauce or something. You don't have to throw those away, but you kind of want to minimize the amount of liquid that's in your salsa. Otherwise, it'll be way too runny. And I usually cut off the little, where the stem was. And then you dice those up. So I'll actually, if you want to take a couple tomatoes, and you can start dicing up too. So pico de gallo, obviously you can see, it's vegetables. We're chopping up vegetables, flavorful vegetables at that. And so it's a really nutritious, side dish, I guess. And traditionally people would probably, dip chips in it, but you can do a lot of different things with pico de gallo. Some people will use it as a topping on fish or chicken, burritos, things like any Mexican type of dish, pico de gallo or guacamole would go really, really well with. Sometimes I'll make breakfast burritos with a scrambled egg, and doing some pico de gallo with that is a really nice touch to top it off. So, and you can add as much as you want because it's, just really, it's healthy and low calorie. So, if you look at the calorie count on this, I'd say for a half a cup, it has to be close to 25 calories. So, of course, then you talk about adding the chips, and that's where your calories really come in. So. All right, so we're dicing up a lot because again, we're going to add some of this to the guacamole as well. How you doing down there, John?
I'm going.
All right.
Slow, but I'm doing. My wife usually does this part too.
Well, see, actually, I'm getting him in trouble because now his wife is going to know that
she does it way better than I do.
She's going to know, and she's going to make you start helping.
Either. She's an expert. She is an expert. I can do it in a pinch. We got to do it.
That's kind of a fun. I'll be honest. My husband doesn't help me much in the kitchen either. I'm kind of a control freak in the kitchen, but imagine that. But my parents, they always cook together, and it was kind of like their date night. My dad makes way better pico de gallo than my mom. My mom chunks things. She's not a great chopper. She's too much in a hurry. And she just kind of, you know, cuts things into big chunks, whereas my dad, he's very meticulous and, you know, chops things very well. He's an artist and an engineer, and so he's very good at chopping, very detail-oriented. So it can be something fun that you do together in your kitchen with your family. If you have some older kids, get them involved. I was actually surprised a few weeks ago. My son's very interested in me cooking, my 3.5-year-old, and he's like, "Mommy, I want to help you chop vegetables." And I haven't I'm not giving my 3.5-year-old this knife. So I gave him like a little plastic kid's knife, and I gave him a pepper, not expecting him to be able to do it. But you know, he got up there on the counter and he had his cutting board and his little plastic knife, and he actually cut the pepper up. So I think it's fun to get your kids involved any way that you can in the kitchen. All right, so we have
I have trouble getting the seeds out.
Oh, okay. You're doing a good job.
I leave them in, but
yeah, you know what? You can certainly do that too.
And
if you like, I mean, it's just going to be a little bit juicier.
I know, that's what you said. I didn't realize that's what that did. That's interesting. Now I know.
You could really use any, we'll do a couple more in there. Any tomatoes that you have would work fine, but traditionally the Roma tomatoes, which are these little, I guess, kind of plum shape, maybe, tomatoes, are what they use in salsas. You could throw these tomato scraps in with your chili. All right. How's it going? I have one more.
Oh, I didn't see that.
A lot of chaffing. I stole it. My bad. And if there's some, if there are some seeds in there, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, there are.
That's okay. That's okay. They won't hurt you. I promise they will not hurt you.
Well, you know, some people can't eat seeds.
Sure, that's true. People with like diverticular issues sometimes avoid seeds. So, but I'm not one of them, fortunately. So, actually good source of fiber and all of that. So, okay, so the next thing we're going to do is start chopping up our cilantro. So I have a beautiful bunch of cilantro here. And I love cilantro because it's just so aromatic, like you can brush up against it and it just releases a beautiful, beautiful smell. And you can, I mean, by that smell you can just imagine how good it is for you. I'm just gonna start chopping it up and I can smell it as I'm chopping. A quick dice. And I would highly recommend using fresh cilantro here. You just can't get the same flavors from a dried cilantro. Okay. Oh, I should have kept my gloves on. Hands are about to get messy.
And that stuff smells good.
Oh, it smells so good. I wish you could all smell it at home. It smells amazing. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt to this, just a pinch, and a little bit of pepper. And give that a stir. And that is pretty much it for pico de gallo. It's pretty much just diced vegetables. But now we're gonna go into our guacamole. And your recipe calls for 5 avocados. I don't think I'm gonna do 5 right now, but if you want a big batch of guacamole, you know, 5 would make a pretty big batch. So everyone in our audience has an avocado that they get to take home with us. Your avocados are not ripe, but they will ripen. I would actually recommend buying them like the ones that you have. They're green, they're firm. I buy them like that and let them ripen on my counter, because what does everybody do in the grocery store? They go around squeezing the avocados, and then you get them home and they're bruised. So I like to buy them unripe, but to know if they're ripe or not, actually when you're ready to use them, they should kind of yield to gentle pressure when you kind of press it with your thumb. It feels nice and soft. They turn more of a brown color instead of green. And so I'll let you do one too. So we have a paring knife, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go around the middle and kind of.
That might be dangerous.
He says it might be dangerous.
That's why my wife does it.
I trust you.
I just about did it.
The ER is right down the hall, so. All right. So I have two sides right here. There's a pit in one side. This is going to be fun. Okay, let's put it down on the counter. And then, so grab your chef knife, and we're going to, not too hard, but kind of give the seed a little, oops. I was watching, okay. So then it just pulls out kind of, there you go, look at that. He did such a good job. All right, and now we're gonna take a spoon, and you can use the one with cilantro on it, that's fine. And we're just gonna scoop out the inside of the avocado. Dinner time. Easy, right?
Yeah.
These are perfect avocados. They're so bright green. Sometimes there's a little bit of brown in them. That's not going to hurt you. So it just might not look that good. So, okay. So now I'm going to add a little bit more lime juice to my avocado. And I'm going to squeeze it into my bowl again so that I can remove any seeds. I don't know what kind of limes we buy here. They never have seeds in them. I just noticed that. There's no seeds in these limes.
Must be good ones.
I don't know. Okay, so I just have half a lime here because I'm just using 2 avocados. I'm just pouring the lime juice over my avocados. And that's going to, again, keep them from browning. I have this here. This is a potato masher. A industrial potato masher. I'm not going to use it. You can also, it's kind of intimidating to me, actually. So I'm going to use a fork and just dice my avocado. So again, that citrus in there is going to help to keep it from turning brown. And really that lime and avocado and cilantro, that flavor combination is just really typical of Mexican foods. And I mean, you can't go wrong with that combination. All right, it's taking kind of a while with my fork here. There's some stubborn pieces. I'm kind of tempted to use the potato masher. Okay. So you can leave this chunky, or again, you can, I mean, some people like actually puree it to make it more smooth. That's fine too. So then I'll just have you take a spoonful.
A spoonful of this.
Spoonful, a couple spoonfuls, and we'll mix it in. Yeah.
1, 2.
That's good. And a pinch. You could buy store-bought pico de gallo and add it to your avocado. I also, for my kids, a lot of times I'll use jarred salsa, just like a chunky jarred salsa, and I'll mash up an avocado, put a couple spoonfuls of the salsa in, and it's like a quick bedtime snack for my kids. They love it. So, and they're eating green stuff and vegetables, so, you know, so what if they're having a couple chips with it? So that's what it looks like. Now the rest here is optional. I'm going to add a little bit of cumin just a tiny bit to give it like a smoky flavor, a tiny bit of pepper to season it, and just that's a little bit of salt to kind of flavor it a little bit. So that's it. So obviously we just did a small batch of guacamole, but if you want to do a bigger batch at home, go ahead and up the avocados, up the pico de gallo in there, and you're all set for your tailgate. So thank you all for joining me today. Does anybody have any questions?
I noticed that before you cut the lime, you can roll it around it.
Yeah.
I've seen other people do that with lemons and
Uh-huh.
stuff. Does that help to release the juices?
It helps to release the juices when you roll the lime a little bit. So you wouldn't have to do it, but it helps it to juice a little bit more easily. Any other questions? Yeah.
Andrea, are chickpeas and garbanzo beans the exact
They are the exact same thing. Chickpeas and garbanzo beans are the same. Anything else? And super good for you too, so yeah. So thank you so much, John, for
Thank you.
joining
You're
me
welcome.
today and helping me prepare our tailgate themed fare.
I learned a few things.
And he also tried them before we started and said they're really good, so hope
They
you
are
enjoy.
very good. Yes, they are.